Clarice Somersall. I'm one of the senior administrators here at Montgomery College, and I'd like to welcome all of you to the Germantown campus of Montgomery College. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, Dr. Pollard, Montgomery College's president, the administrators, faculty, and staff of Montgomery College, I take great pleasure in welcoming you, our Discovery Communications partners, and our Montgomery College students, faculty, and staff to our second presentation in the Discover Your Skills joint venture with Discovery Communications. I would also like to recognize staff and students from Montgomery County Public Schools, as well as the universities at Shady Grove. They represent our educational partners within this county. Without a doubt, we are in for a stimulating conversation dealing with careers in information, media, broadcast, and digital technologies. Students, we encourage you to open your eyes, to think about careers that are beckoning you. At the fall 2011 opening meeting, Dr. Pollard shared our new Montgomery College mission statement, which reads in part, "We empower our students to change their lives, and we enrich the life of our community." Montgomery College's partnership with Discovery Communications provides a wonderful opportunity to empower you, our students, to examine your options for a future where you will be competing for jobs with people from around the world. Don't just think of competing with people from Bethesda. You will be competing with people from Belgium. Don't just think about competing with people from Gaithersburg. You will be competing with people from Ghana. We live in a global economy, and being globally aware and globally competitive are essential skills. We are enriching the life of our Montgomery College community by launching this lecture series during this academic year. In addition, Dr. Pollard envisions a time when Montgomery College will be recognized as the most relevant community college in the nation. Clearly, our work with a corporate giant like Discovery Communications will speak volumes to you, our students, about our goals of bringing the world of work and its vast opportunities for advancement to you. Many thanks to our Montgomery College and Discovery Communications planning team for making this lecture series possible. On August 23, 2011, Discovery Communications announced the expansion of its Discover Your Skills multimedia initiative to include its partnership with Montgomery College. This facet of the partnership focuses on better preparing students for the necessary skills to take full advantage of available job opportunities in many areas, including the vast and growing technology arena. With those introductory comments as a backdrop, I would like to introduce our panel moderator, Mr. Eric Hawkins, the Senior Vice President for Human Resources at Discovery Communications. Mr. Hawkins has an extensive bio. However, I will keep my comments concise. Mr. Hawkins has had a distinguished career focused on large-scale change management and managing international teams. In fact, in his previous position as the Senior Vice President for Discovery's High Growth International Division, which reaches 210 countries worldwide, Mr. Hawkins managed a global team of more than 25 HR professionals and provided progressive HR support for a business encompassing over 1,500 employees, 21 international television brands, and nearly 900 million subscribers. Yes, I did say 900 million subscribers. Mr. Hawkins is a highly respected professional. I'm pleased to welcome him to the podium where he will introduce our panelists and moderate the discussion. Let's enjoy and learn. Mr. Hawkins.
Thank you very much, Clarice. Thank you. We are so excited with this partnership with Montgomery College. We're so happy to be here. So again, my name is Eric Hawkins. I am Senior Vice President of Human Resources Management for Discovery Communications. I'd like to extend a very warm welcome to each of you to Discover Your Career, a series of career exploration panels brought to you by Discovery. I'm personally thrilled to be here to be part of this discussion, and today in particular as we explore careers in broadcast, media, and digital technology. I anticipate a lively and informative discussion. At Discovery, technology is always expanding and changing as new ways to evolve distribution for our satellite feeds, digitally edit and transmit our content around the globe, and create content for different formats, including web, mobile, and tablets. Today, you will hear from Discovery leaders who will speak firsthand about their experiences, as well as what technology means to them and what it means to our company. Before we get started, I'd like to show a quick sizzle reel, which we think will give you a good sense of what Discovery is all about and what Discovery does. So great. I have to say, every time I see that, I just feel so fortunate to be able to practice my craft at such a terrific organization, an inspiring organization. So before we get to the panel, I would just like to go over the day a little bit. We will, of course, have our panel discussion, and then we will also invite Alston Taylor to come to the podium. He's our Director of Diversity, Recruiting, and Early Career Programs, and he's going to talk about internships and various programs at Discovery. And of course, we will save time at the end for a Q&A period for you to ask whatever questions you may have, and the panel will be happy to answer those questions. So now, without further ado, I'd like to turn to the panelists themselves and ask them to introduce themselves, and then we can get right on with the show. So if we can start with you, Terry.
My name is Terry Love. I'm the Director of Broadcast Operations for the Discovery Broadcast Center in Sterling, Virginia.
I am Chris McFadden. I'm with the Discovery Communications Digital Media Division, and I'm responsible for website development for a number of our websites, including Discovery Channel, Animal Planet, and How Stuff Works.
And can everyone hear our panelists? No.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, much better, much better.
All right, let me say it over again. So I'm Chris McFadden, and I'm the director for software development for our digital media division, and we're responsible for developing websites for Discovery Channel, Animal Planet, TLC, as well as Pet Finder and How Stuff Works. And I've been at Discovery 12 years, and for 6 of those years I've been just a developer, and for the last 6 years I've been a manager of the group. And I've really enjoyed working there. I started off my college career in history and switched over to computer science, and I've been sticking with that ever since. And I've really, I think, benefited from co-op programs that I participated in when I was in college, and so certainly I find a lot of benefit in those.
Terrific, thanks. Fernando?
My name is Fernando Alem. I am the Director of Information Security Compliance and just recently HR Systems and Corporate Systems in Discovery. I have 5 years working at Discovery Communications, another 15 years working in many other different companies. I have security operations in charge globally, compliance, and mainly all 28 HR systems that we run across the globe, and some corporate systems as well. My educational background basically is I have a major in engineering, and I am an IT engineer person with an MBA that I made early 2001, 2002. And basically technology is what I am attached since I was 8 years old.
Excellent. Brinton?
Morning. My name is Brinton Miller. I'm a VP of Media Engineering at Discovery. I oversee our post-production technology systems at our production facilities in Silver Spring, New York, and LA. I'm also over our broadcast IT group, which manages a lot of the custom-built high-speed data and storage network software systems that we use to get everything we do on the air and whatnot. Oddly enough, I have my undergraduate degree in sociology and an MBA. So while I've been technology my entire career, I haven't actually taken a class in it. So go figure. But that's pretty common in media. So.
Hi, I'm Beth Charters, and I'm Vice President of Global Relationship Management. And many of you are probably wondering what does that mean? In IT, I oversee globally for our US region, European region, and Latin America region, our service desk, as well as our technical support team. So the folks that you may call if you're calling Comcast or whoever, somebody to help you, that front line, as well as our technical support if you have an issue with your computer or your iPad or your iPhone and your laptop or other devices in that sense. We also run our change management, so any type of change that you want to do and put that into our production environment, maybe an application change, could be a router change. We review those and we make sure that they're approved and reduce risk so we don't introduce any unknown elements into our production landscape to protect that. And those are kind of our big pieces. I also took on recently our AV and video conferencing area and looking at some new tools of how we can collaborate as technology is evolving. We're becoming more dispersed, and we want to have tools that we can work with each other better, that we can think and talk with each other better even when we're not in the same room. So my background is actually a public health degree, believe it or not. So there is definitely a lot of stories I think we'll be able to share with you today about opportunities and your path and how you get into certain positions and certain roles in technology. Thanks.
Excellent. Rajesh?
Good morning, everybody. My name is Rajesh Raghavendran, and I go by either Rajesh or Raj. First of all, I would like to thank both Montgomery College and Discovery for giving me the opportunity to participate in this panel and share my thoughts and ideas. I've been with Discovery for the last 6 years, and I've got a total of about 15 years of experience in the IT area. I managed their a team of global IT infrastructure operations between America and EMEA. Those are the two main regions that we cover. And as part of the IT operations, we have the infrastructure that's servers and networks and storages. So when you connect to Discovery, the backend infrastructure is actually managed by my team. So, and yeah, I'll be open for any questions that you may have later on.
Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me? Yeah. My name's Eleanor Brown, and I am privileged to work for Discovery and be an IT project manager for everything IT. And I have the pleasure of working with everybody on this panel, and I'm happy to be here today.
Thank you, Eleanor. So the first question that I'd like to ask is, I think probably the first question that's on everyone's mind here, which is, how did you get here? What was your professional journey, your professional path that led you to the positions that you now hold? And what were the drivers of your progression and career success that have led you to the roles that you now have? Anyone?
I'll go ahead and start. Being a public health major, you're all probably wondering how some of that happened. When I was in college, I had done an internship, and I was working at Indiana University, the hospital that was there. The man who ran that program was a wonderful mentor for me. So we had both that mentor component as well as an internship component. And I'm a true believer in working hard and also learning from those that you work with and building those relationships. And I believe that really helps you in your career, and it helps them as well. So one day he said, hey, Beth, there's this job in Washington, D.C., and I think this is perfect for you. You should take a look at it. And it's just an entry-level position. I was interested in healthcare at the time. I'm going to date myself. Bill and Hillary were here, and they're going to revolutionize healthcare in 100 days. I thought, how exciting. Let's go. So I moved out. That didn't happen, for those of you that may not be aware of all those things, but it was a great time. What's old is new. I think they're trying this again. So from there, I started getting more involved in computers. There were Macs in the office, and we were starting to learn. And they're like, this is a mouse. This is what this does. This is a keyboard. And I really adapted to it, and I enjoyed that very much. And I wound up moving into a house with a few girls. DC's a little expensive, and a friend of mine who I was working with said, hey, there's a consulting company that are looking for people, and you should take a look at that. And I did. And it was a consulting company, and it was, again, an IT component, but entry level, but they were looking for software testers and someone to take a role on the service desk. And so I started that, and it's a great way to learn a system. If you don't really have a lot of that background, but you're interested in it, testing and being on a service desk is an excellent first step. You get a chance to talk, you get a chance to learn a little bit about everything, work on your people skills, and then decide what kinds of things you like. And from there, I just have met more and more colleagues and grew into my role, and then suddenly I became a business analyst because I liked that side of thinking through things and developing solutions. And from there, a project manager, which I loved, and I was able to then suddenly organize and structure a project. When are we going to collect requirements? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about all things possible, which is a lot of fun for me, and I think that's great. Get those ideas. Moving into, okay, now we're going to build it. Now we're going to test it, have a test plan. Now we're going to launch it. We're going to support it and teach how to use it. So that kind of progressed my career, and then I was given other opportunities also at other companies. And this one fellow I used to work with who built out a portal site for a telecom company I was working for was leaving. And I said, oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Where are you going? And he says he's going to the Discovery Channel. I said, God, that's so cool. How cool would that be to work for Discovery? And anytime I see those videos like Eric showed, I just love the company that I work for. And a few months later, he sent me a little instant message. He says, hey, are you still interested? Because there is a position over there for project managing and HR systems. And I said, that would be excellent. And I interviewed, and I was able to get that role. And from there, just continue to work hard. You build those relationships. You meet new people. And about a year and a half ago, our CIO at the time, who I'd gotten to know, we just brainstormed on different ideas and saw a lot of things like to like, had said, hey, do you want to try moving over into operations and run our global service desk? We need to work on our relationships because people just didn't feel like it was where it needed to be. And I still believe that you need to talk with people. You need to work those relationships, whether it's an intern program, a mentorship program, or just talking with people to get a sense of who does what, have them get to know you and share some of those ideas. That goes a long way. My path has evolved all along those lines. And having done that, then I got put into this role, which has been able to allow me to even work with more people and learn new things, and I love to learn, so it's a whole other area of getting a sense of the people we work with. How do we better support people? What kind of technologies should we be looking at so people can be as efficient as they need to be with their jobs? And so that was a little bit about how my path evolved, and one piece of advice I would say is don't stress too much about it. I remember being in your shoes. I remember my 20s, barely, I remember them. And thinking, oh, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? I think what's important is do things that make you happy. Work is a component of your life. You want to enjoy it. And you want to learn and absorb as much as you can. And your path is going to evolve. Do the best you can do. And you never know where that's going to lead you. But I think you need to be true to yourself as you're going down those paths. But that's a little bit about how I got to be where I am.
Can I just add to what Beth is saying? I think also it's about following your natural curiosities, because I work with Beth and she brings a natural curiosity to every project. And even when I think it can't be done, she looks at it as a puzzle and as I've never done that before, but let's see. I think that we can make that happen. And I think that that really drives your level of certainly customer service, and then you've got the competence behind that that drives the curiosity into action. So anyway, thank you, Beth.
Thanks, Eric.
Others?
I guess my path was a little bit different from most people on this panel. I grew up in a small town in Tennessee called Medon, M-E-D-O-N, a population 112 when I left. I studied to be a farmer. I was an agriculture major, and going into my senior year in high school, I got the bug to go into broadcasting. And I'm actually a product of a junior college. I went to junior college in Jackson, Tennessee, graduated from there. They had a small broadcast division there, and got my degree there and went on to the University of Memphis, where I finished there and worked for a local TV station. Worked there for 13 years, did everything from camera operator to directing the weekend news. And stayed there for 13 years. The station was sold, they downsized, and I had to find another career. And went to work for a film developer called Fox Photo, and did film transfers there. And shortly after that, I went to work for a company called Cycle Set, which no longer exists, but they were basically a tape dub house. We duplicated commercials for distribution to local TV stations and radio stations. We also did audio. We were averaging over 5,000 commercial dubs a day, and I ran their ship and dub operation for almost 5.5 years. Had enough of that, decided to move my family to Atlanta, went to work for Turner Broadcasting. Again, started from the bottom, worked my way up from a master control operator, eventually being the operations manager for TBS, Turner Classic Movies and Cartoon Network. Shortly after that, an opportunity came on board that Discovery was building their own origination facility in Sterling, Virginia. And I came on board as one of the first employees to help put this facility together. So me, along with another individual, we interviewed over 450 people for the 87 positions that we had at that time. And we launched the Sterling Broadcast Facility. Today, we are responsible, myself along with a co-director, are responsible for the 27 network feeds that leave the facility that the viewers see every day. So it's been a very enjoyable path for me. I mean, like I said, I started from basically the bottom and worked my way up. And technology has changed a lot. When I first started, the cameras that you see right now were probably about 20 pounds heavier, and everything was on open reel-to-reel, and there was nothing that was digital, and all that's changed for us, you know, in the past 35 years that I've been in the business. So I would, you know, if you're going to go into this business, the one thing that I've been kind of strapped with is that it's a 24/7, 365. I'm there, rain or shine, whatever happens, you'll find me, or someone will find me, someone will call me, or whatever the case may be. And it is a very rewarding thing for me, because every day that I go to work is something new, it's something different, and that we, as a company, can affect what over 100 million people see every day. And that's really a big thrill for me, that we can do that, and we manage that on a day-to-day basis, and we make sure that what the producers and everyone else in Discovery decides that they want for the viewers to see, that you see that exactly the way that they intended for you to see it.
Terrific, terrific. Others?
I can go next. Mine's not going to be probably as fancy as Beth's, but fairly all right, I guess. So I graduated in electrical and electronics, and my optional subject was biomedical, and I took a lot of interest in learning more about biomedical in my last couple of years. And I got a job in the campus interview. I started becoming a full-fledged biomedical engineer, servicing ultrasounds and CT scans and all sorts of electronic gears. So, and as a natural progression, I started troubleshooting issues with it, and came along the software portion of it. And it was systems programming back then. So I started getting more into that. It's actually a product from Samsung. So, and I was too inclined in programming this software portion of it. And then that was the boom of the IT operations and software development in India. So a lot of my folks and a lot of my friends were well-placed in big corporations. So I said, let me just, because my fascination now moved from the hardware to software, and I started trying the software area. So I moved to a city which was currently the Silicon Valley of India, and I started getting into this hardcore software development in terms of applications and stuff. Then there was an opportunity for me to support a company in US, that's General Electric, back in Atlanta. It was in '97. And we had two operations, one in India, another one in US. So, and we had a rotational process where few people would support the operations back in India for a while, and then they would come on to US to, you know, do this changeover. So we did, as part of the rotation, I was selected to come over and support the General Electric operations in Atlanta, and thoroughly enjoyed the operations. And I moved on to become an Oracle DBA, and I picked up a job in Oracle Corporation and doing the consulting. So the challenges with the consulting was that you would be representing a company that's specialized in a particular area. The product is absolutely new that's brought into the market, and you have been projected as the expertise on that. So you would spend your time reading through the manuals and all sorts of procedures and everything when you're in a flight, on journey, and trying to project yourself as a subject matter expertise when you're the client. So you've been literally thrown to the wolves. So, and then managed to swim around and, you know, been there for about 7, 8 years with Oracle Consulting, then came along the opportunity with Discovery. And I got to say, in the last 15 years of my career, this was the last 6 years of beautiful career that I've had. And the kind of data that Discovery hosts, and the amount of network challenges that we have streaming the data, and the dynamics within the company, the fast-paced approach of how things change within discovery, everything is just a treat to enjoy with. So I mean, all along, what I've learned is you take your passion to the nth degree. I mean, if you like something, take it to the nth level, and keep your eyes and ears open. There will be a lot of opportunities all along. The world is filled with opportunities. All you got to do is try that out. Do not reject anything. Have an open mind. You can have an opinion, but not reject anything, because things are out there for you to go pick. So pick yourself a career, and there are companies like Discovery where they'll give you opportunities if you have the flair, if you have the interest to try it out. So and in terms of what skills to possess, and definitely people even from early on in the career, if you show the attitude to good analytical skills and a good attitude for your work, and that's exactly what every company would look for. Everybody's not born with good experience, but you gain along the way. But a good attitude with a positive approach is what we all look for.
Excellent, thank you. Are there any others that would like to chime in on your professional journey that's led you where you are today?
I'll take a swing since I had a weird one also. I never really knew what I was going to be when I grow up. I'm still not sure if I figured that one out. But I started doing internships in high school, actually, in a service desk type role, doing IT work. Ended up going through a number of Microsoft certifications at that time. When I went to college, I still continued to do IT work, and then in the nights I also took on a second job working in a recording studio, and did recording work for a large part of my college career. Meanwhile, on the academic side, I jumped from architecture to business to history to, there's 2 or 3 others in there. Finally ended up on sociology. And that was huge, to be perfectly honest. I think where I ended up landing was great because it really taught me more about interpersonal skills and how to communicate with people and relate to people. And that ended up being huge because right out of college, I ended up going away from the recording stuff, away from the pure IT stuff, and going to work for a consulting firm that was 100% media-centric. So I did the next 8 years, 28 days a month working, 80 to 100-hour weeks, on the road 300 days a year, working for everybody. We do stuff for NBC or Fox, or for did stuff for CNN, did stuff for Bloomberg, did a lot of stuff for Discovery, which is how I came to know Discovery. And it was really a situation where I had an interest in the technology side, wasn't where my education necessarily was focused, but I had this drive and this interest on the technology side. And just as Rajesh was saying, as a consultant, you'd often be put in a situation where they'd tell you, hey, next Thursday you're going to go be a subject matter expert on blah, blah, blah. And you'd cram, just like you cram for a final. And you'd learn enough to get through the meeting, and then you'd have another couple weeks to continue to cram and learn everything there was to know about a given technology, and then go off and design a system and implement it and turn it on and hand the keys to whatever media company we were working for, and then go along and do the next thing. So after doing that for a number of years, I ended up coming over to Discovery full-time after building a relationship with a lot of the folks between 5 or 6 different consulting engagements I did with them. But again, in my mind, it was really about building an education around learning how to learn, learning how to communicate, and the focus of my career has really been based more on my interests, not necessarily the topic of my degree.
Great, and looking back, it seems like many of you didn't necessarily go to school specifically with the positions that you currently hold in mind. In hindsight, and the advice that you would give to the Montgomery College students here, what majors and courses of study do you think, now looking back, would have prepared you or would have been helpful?
So when I was in high school, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I thought I'd figure that out somewhere down the line. And so I went into college. It was a very small liberal arts college. And I was studying history and English, and I really enjoyed it. And I felt I had just had so much time to get everything figured out. But it was after my freshman year, my dad actually signed me up for a computer science class at the local university. So while I was working full-time as a waiter that summer, I was also taking this course. And actually I really found it to be really challenging. I didn't generally like math that much, but I liked computers. I didn't really have a lot of experience with them actually in high school. It wasn't like I was locked in my room working on my computer. And so after that, I actually transferred to George Mason over in Fairfax and finished up. And along the way, did a co-op with the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration, kind of working on computers with them. And then I still wasn't really sure, when I was graduating, I didn't know, I didn't know which companies to apply to or anything like that. And I ended up meeting somebody in one of my classes who had a very small company, as in literally like 4 people, and they were doing a little bit of consulting, and it sounded like interesting work, and so I went along and worked with him, and had a few jobs. It's good sometimes when you're starting off your career to take different jobs, so move around a little bit, and it was really about 6 years in that I've got an opportunity at Discovery as a contractor, and then stayed on as a full-time employee after that. But again, I think you don't always have to know really what you want to do. I think as long as you're always looking out for the opportunities that present themselves to you, I think so. That's a little bit about my story.
Another class that I think is important to take, and this is to me with whatever you fall into, whatever you want to go down with, is, Brinton mentioned sociology, and I think that having some classes that understand how to relate to people are very important, because you will be relating to people in what you do. Even if you wind up being an engineer or a developer, you may not have as much interaction, but there will be a point in your career where you're going to have to be in a group working with people. And it's important to understand how people work. There will be some people that may not say 2 words, and you may think that that person is not contributing, but that's not necessarily the case. It's just because maybe they're a very introverted person. And you want to be able to understand how people work, because then you can actually engage them in ways that they can then be very interactive and support your team. If you have a very detailed person you're working on a project with, they're probably a good person to review it to make sure there aren't any errors. If you have a person who likes to talk a lot, you probably want them to be facilitating. If you have a person that gets antsy, have them monitor time. But kind of understanding some of those fundamentals of people can apply in anything that you do. And I would definitely encourage that type of course to take. And I was fortunate to take a course like that, and I use it all the time. I apply to that all the time. Again, same with knowing some of those basics of in analytics. I took an epidemiological class because I was in that healthcare background, and it was fascinating. You would have this, why are people blue? I don't know. And then you kind of break down, but it gets kind of interesting. But you start being able to frame out areas and kind of get some basics of how you want to problem solve and troubleshoot. On that flip side, taking something that was more on a psychology type level really helps you understand how you work with people, and you are going to be working with people for the most part in some aspect. So I think those are good areas that you want to get into. If you're interested and you go out to a website and you think, wow, this is really cool, I'd love to understand more about social media, what's Facebook, what's going on. We're starting to see a lot of content streaming. What's going on in that space? Definitely start taking some courses, start looking at that, start understanding how people want to use this information, how people absorb that information differently, because that's evolving how you're taught. That's about evolving how content is distributed. That's evolving how we create content and how it's sold. So if you're interested in those kinds of areas, look and see what kind of classes around those areas are offered to you.
And if I can just add to that, I think you also have to be mindful that with all of the technical expertise, to Beth's point, you are often in a position where you then have to translate that expertise to folks who may not have that same level of understanding. So to your point about really understanding people and dynamics and being able to explain things in a way that makes sense to folks who may not have the same degree of knowledge, I think is also very important. Eleanor, I didn't know if you had anything you wanted to add.
One of the things, let's see here. One of the things I wanted to mention is there's a great website called How Stuff Works, and I learn from it all the time. In fact, prior to Discovery acquiring How Stuff Works, when I first started my job at Discovery, I had not been in information technology. I had spent like 22 or 23 years in the telecommunication industry. So as a project manager coming into the group, I was facilitating phone calls, and I was on these phone calls with a lot of technical people, and I really didn't know what they were talking about. And thank God for How Stuff Works, because as I was listening, I had my headset on, and I'm trying to learn and take notes, because again, I'm facilitating this meeting. And no one knows that as they're using all these technical acronyms, I'm on the website typing them in, and How Stuff Work comes up, and I'm very much a picture person, and there was the picture. And I was like, oh, I know what they're talking about. So you're always learning, and the idea that you have the internet, which I didn't have. I had to go to the library, so I'm dating myself. I mean, it's just awesome. You can get the, information and knowledge is power, and it will get you a long way in life.
Excellent, excellent.
So Eric, I just want one more point to the point that Eleanor mentioned when she types something and she gets the How Stuff Works. So along those lines, like for instance today, the hottest, I don't know how many of you know this, the hottest jobs that are available right now is for math and statisticians. So math and statistics are one of the hottest jobs because, for instance, how many of you would have thought that math people would have been one of the hottest for Googles and Bings? So if people have translated into professors and college campuses and things like that. So I think right now Googles and Bings are hiring math nerds, statisticians, for ranking those searches that you basically do. So, and I graduated from an electrical and electronics field learning transistors, but today when you ask me what a transistor is, I'm probably going to tell you whose sister. So I have no idea what it is, but over a period of time, I have transitioned myself into areas where my passion is as well as where the opportunities are. So, and I think those two really go hand in hand, just like how Chris and Beth had indicated. So,
one more would be writing skills. That's again seems weird these days in a world of email and text messages and Twitter and whatnot. And to be perfectly honest, we use all the before mentioned constantly at work. But being able to communicate more often than not now is through email and various other forms of nonverbal communication. And we're challenged all the time on the technology side of the house with finding people who are A, technologists, but B, can communicate, and particularly communicate, in the written word. It's been actually a huge challenge in our group over the last couple of years. So we're always, to this day, we still do sort of continuing education with a lot of our staff in that area. So that's huge.
I'd like to step into technology for a moment. We have all seen in a very short amount of time our industry move from linear networks to broadband and HD, and now TV everywhere, at our doorstep where people can watch things on mobile devices. And I'm just curious how the increase in technology and the advances in technology are impacting your world from a technical perspective, and how do you stay abreast of the new skills necessary to be competitive given the changes in technology?
Well, today, the data sprawl is something that we need to contain. I mean, you got information that's available everywhere. So I think there's a great book about information diet. You know, how do you really contain those information that you assimilate? How do you filter between a good and a bad information? So today in the technology front, I mean, technology is growing in different areas. So big data management is one of the area that people are focusing, trying to control and contain and make sense out of how to make valuable information or get valuable information, the data, like social media, chats, information. So we have had structured data before, the back-end ERP systems, the company's information, all that stuff is all in a structured data. But today you're talking about unstructured data, people's opinions, people's thoughts and ideas, right? How do they translate? How do you really make sense out of those information and use it for your data mining and for marketing tools and things like that? So that area is definitely growing. And from my point of view, mobility is definitely going to be the next wave. The high schoolers today are probably going to be dictating how the world is in the next 5 years, because they will be changing the way they communicate. They'll be changing the way, they will be dictating, this is how I want to consume the information. So from that standpoint, definitely mobility and the data management. The data is pretty much unstructured. People have mastered how to manage and maintain a structured data, but unstructured data is definitely one of the big things. Plus, coming from the infrastructure side, I would say the cloud services is something that a lot of companies are looking at to both to reduce the cost as well as to be more nimble and flexible to their customers. And that's centered around the customer service as well. So everything ties in together. So cloud services, which has various different segments like virtualization and easy provisioning of what customer is requesting for, all that falls into that same bucket. So those are the areas that stand out in my mind as the next few years of things that you can look for.
I'd like to talk about relationships a little bit. We hear so much about networking and internships and mentoring relationships. Can you just talk about your experience in that regard and the significance or importance you feel are attached to those actions?
Actually, I'll take that question first, and it kind of goes back to another question you asked. So from a career perspective, I started in the United States Air Force, and I was there for 4 years. And when I applied for my first position, it was by way of somebody, or I was referred to into the company by somebody who worked there, who I'd met in the military. And so that connection was a great connection. It got me hired into a great company. And that's the same thing that happened to me in terms of being hired by Discovery. It was a connection. It was knowing somebody that was there, somebody I had worked with years and years and years ago, but you build a reputation, and that reputation, if it's a good reputation, is going to get you in the door based on the connections you make and the relationships you make with other people.
Excellent. Others?
Regarding internships, in the media, particularly in the post-production and broadcast side of the company, it's absolutely crucial. All the entry-level jobs in the space, at least on the technical side of the space and technical operations side of the space, are intern-based. And they're grueling and they're hard, and you meet a ton of people, and it's a very small industry, so they're the same people that you're going to meet every 5 years for the rest of your career. So getting in there early, putting the hours in, putting the effort in is really the name of the game in my experience. I can't even count the number of internships I did with various, production companies and post-production companies, recording studios, whatever. It's not the most glamorous thing. It's also kind of challenging because it's not necessarily a paid thing, but it is the way to meet the people. If you go into the larger media markets, whether it's New York or LA, more often the first interview question is, what have you worked on and who do you know that I know? And that's sort of media, so.
I think that the other big piece that both Eleanor and Brinton mentioned is about, you don't want to be in a situation where you're there, whether you're happy or unhappy, you may wind up crossing paths with that person again in some way. Or even if you depart paths, that person, if you had a good relationship with that person, they know that you worked hard, you contributed to the group, those things stick. When I've moved on to different companies or vice versa, I've hired people that way because I worked with somebody and I trusted them. I knew they could come in. I knew they could do the job. And vice versa. I've been hired or put into a position or promoted into a position because somebody knew who I was, trusted me, knew I was eager to learn, knew I could get in there and do something. And so having those relationships are really key. And also to have people you can even just talk to get some guidance, to either have that mentor component or be able to have somebody you trust that you can talk to, or even talk through something that maybe you're trying to work through. It just happened to me in the office. Can I talk to you for a few minutes about it and get some guidance on that? Yes. And also that helps you meet people. So in my current role, or we call it global relationship management, because we believe that understanding how people work, building a relationship with those people, there's more confidence now for people to come to the service desk or come to IT to ask them, saying, hey, I have this issue, or I need some help. I'm trying to get a sense of how I should do something. Can you help me? And there is definitely a big gain in forward momentum and moving when you're able to do that. And then they come back to you, which is good. We want them coming to this sort of what we call a front gate, and then we'll collect information if we'll work with who we need to work with to fix something. But my latest promotion was definitely through just interacting with our CEO. My former boss had said, he's social. You should go say hi, throw out some of these ideas to him. And I was like, really? Okay. So apprehensively knock on the door and just say hi, introduce myself. I hadn't known him, and we started talking about project management of all things, and we saw eye to eye on a lot. He saw I had a lot of energy, and then a few months later, it was just simply, I have an idea for you. There's something that we need to talk about, something we want to change within the organization. So you never know where that's going to take you, but they are important. They're important as part of a support. They're important for ideas. They're important for career growth and a path that you may not charge down. And a lot can be natural. Don't suddenly just feel like you have to knock on every single door and sort of get in there and talk to them. That's sort of the opposite spectrum of where you want to be. Kind of keep it natural. You don't have to focus your whole career on that. It's going to happen naturally for the most part through meetings and calls and just what you do. But if you do have an opportunity to meet somebody that you either work with or you're interested in what they do, take it and talk to them. I think that's important.
Something that I can recommend for the people that wants to have more connections, more networking, at least that was working with in my professional career, was the ability to get certifications in particular fields that you can be interested in, or like project management or information security, or many different fields that in these days you have certifications. Those certifications usually have some big associations behind. Those associations, they do meetings, they do seminars, they do one-day events, they bring companies that, by the way, are interested in people that have those certifications, and it's kind of a loop finally that will give you more exposure, will give you more connections with people like you that are in the same field and are interested on the same kind of area. And that is something that works very well here and in other parts of the world, but especially here, that you try to get to in parallel with your formal education, you try to get those certifications, and those certifications will bring you more connections and networking that in the future you can use to get positions inside companies.
So Fernando, when a resume comes in and you're looking to fill a position and you see those certifications, does that put that candidate in a different light as you look at their background and experience?
Absolutely. I mean, for all people related with technology, we know very well that technology, like we were talking before, is changing every 2 years. Wherever you guys are seeing here now, maybe in 2 years you have a complete different game. Then those certifications are giving you some baseline of knowledge that many companies look for, and you know that when you are seeing resumes with those certifications, because remember, those certifications as well requires that you get up to date, you are doing CPEs, you are doing training, you need to demonstrate that you are doing that training, and yes, that is a very good filter in these days. Not only, by the way, not only for information security or technology, also for human resources and finance and many other areas that are looking for filters, because you put a position there and maybe you have 500 resumes and you don't have the time to review the 500 resumes, then you are applying some filters there.
That's great. That's great. Well, I want to be mindful of time, and I definitely would like to leave time for a Q&A session. So I'm going to ask Alston Taylor to come up and just talk a little bit about the internship opportunities available at Discovery.
Good morning, Montgomery College. I want to stay on the topic of relationship, and we'll thread right into the internship program. But even today, it took a relationship and a conversation to be started to have this particular panel to exist today, and the same one we had that was in February. So when it comes to relationships, it's really about how do we start a conversation, how do we get the communication going, and then how do we build a plan, and how do we execute that plan. That's essentially what an internship is. And that's one that's global, not just with us at Discovery. As someone decides on their career path and how they want to find it, the internship is the absolute best way to do it. You come in, you learn, you be able to get exposure to different things, culture, different departments, and you really find out who you are, and in the interim, where it is that you want to go. And it gives yourself some time and energy to make decisions to say, okay, I thought I liked this, but I like this better. I like this better, but how do I get this path to be able to find where exactly I want to go? So in particular with Discovery, we have 3 particular times where we do our internship program: spring, summer, and winter. The spring and the summer is 12 weeks of intense work where you work closely inside a particular department and you understand exactly what that group does, how they function, and how do you play your role within it if you were to come back. Why do we do this? Because we use this as a little sneaky way to say, where's the talent? Where can we find individuals to come in after we've assessed them in a 12-week period and then bring them back on as full-time workers? And what do you get as an intern? You learn on-the-job experience, you understand the culture of a company, and you understand, again, where it is that you truly want to go and build your path. Right now, we have a spring internship program that's running. 102 students across the entire United States. Coming up in the summer, we'll have 175 students. These folks, just like Dr. Somersall said, it's global. And so these folks can come from Sierra Leone, they can come from Australia, they can come from right here in Montgomery College. But it's about how do you present yourself, how do you follow up, and what are you doing to stand out better than the rest, and how are you taking that risk to take on the reward that you'll gain from your internship. So I don't know if I answered enough or provided enough information toward you guys for the internship program, but I'll be here afterwards to answer any questions. I ran out of business cards, so I want to give you all my email to follow up with me, and it is AULSTON_TAYLOR@discovery.com. Look forward to hearing from everyone.
I'd like to thank the Germantown campus for being so hospitable. These kinds of activities don't take place without a lot of forethought and a lot of planning, and the liaison with the campus has been wonderful. As I indicated before, we're just embarking on our partnership with Discovery Communications. We know that it's going to blossom into something really, really significant for Montgomery College and its students. So on behalf of the President, on behalf of the Board of Trustees, I'd like to thank you for coming and come back. Thank you.